and welcome to the Magnetic Masculinity podcast. Together this week, we're going to talk about another spiritual tool that's very popular on the planet, which is plant medicine. And that's the title that they've given to a lot of psychedelic or hallucinogenic compounds that people use to change their states of consciousness, break through barriers. There's lots of scientific research being done where they're exploring different things like ketamine or MDMA or psilocybin mushrooms on things like depression and anxiety and addiction. And so this week, my job is not to tell you what to do or what not to do. I try not to be too pro or too anti anything. So my job is to simply reflect some perspectives to you as somebody who has done years of plant medicine integration coaching for people. When I started, I was very excited about all the breakthroughs with plant medicine. It wasn't something I had done a lot. I tried a couple of things when I was a teenager and then twice in adulthood. But other than that, it's not been my particular tool. I do have clients who have had massive transformational breakthroughs with only one ayahuasca session, or I had another client who did ketamine therapy and had amazing results. My own partner was definitely somebody whose life was vastly changed for the better by the responsible use of certain substances. So I see a lot of value. I also always like to remind people that we want to consider the right tool for the right job, because I've also seen a lot of clients that have gone to use certain substances and had a little bit of like our brain gets flooded with so many chemicals at once, oxytocin and serotonin and norepinephrine, and it can be like a flood, like go, go, go. And then sometimes people get a crash. There's a lot of studies on that in specific regards to MDMA, how it's like, yes, it does this and it does that. So for some people, it's amazing. And for some people, they're like, it took me a month to recover. So again, I'm not pro or anti. I'm pro information and pro choice. Now, I have seen, like I said, some amazing, amazing benefits from people using what we're calling plant medicine, psychedelics, in as little as one session. I also have clients that have used them a lot. And I know people that have used them or even facilitate the use of them for a living who after 10 to 15 or 20 years of usage are still really struggling. So I don't think it's the be all end all answer. I think, again, it always comes down to the right tool for the right person for the right job. Now, having said that, I think a lot of people could benefit from trying those different levels of consciousness or just peeking behind the veil. But then from my perspective and my experience, I think it's very beneficial to then do the work to get there naturally. Another way to look at it is if you're a tree and all of a sudden you're shooting up into higher levels of consciousness, but your roots aren't deep enough, sometimes people topple over. So I've seen a lot of people go into delusion, psychosis. All of a sudden they're like, I can't work a job. I'm going to quit my job and, just tell people about my story for a living, which is valid. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I think there was a meme going around that said something like, ayahuasca, what we've lost the most tech CEOs to. I don't know, something like that. So I think it is helpful if you're choosing to do one of those tools to make sure that you have a good integration coach, make sure that you're eating clean. And when you go to do like a dieta or a more traditional ceremony, they ask you to eat really clean, avoid sugar, things like that. And I think that's really important because it can be very intense on our brains. And we want to make sure that our brains recover so that we don't get those neurological hangovers that I've seen a lot of clients experience, or then the falling into depression. So again, it might be really fun for you. And I have sat with a lot of people on journeys, and I've done years of integration coaching. And it was only through working with so many people that I started to see some of the less talked about, less desirable impacts of some of these substances on people. For instance, the after crash, or the people losing a little bit of a grip on the ability to function in this reality. Not that any of those other realities are maybe less real or untrue. It just makes it harder to function in this reality. I've also seen it become very addicted, very addictive. And I've had lots of clients who sort of convince themselves that they need more and more and more. And every weekend they're like, I have to do the medicine this weekend. I have to, I have to take the medicine for this person. I have to take the medicine for that person. And just remember that these things can be amazing breakthrough tools, and they also can be a little hard on your body and your brain. So I think it's just a matter of balance and perspective. And like anything can be medicine or a drug. So just because we call it plant medicine, doing it 5 times a week and losing your grip on reality isn't necessary, but calling it medicine isn't necessarily in your highest good. So yeah, I think try it if you feel called to. Do your research, find somewhere safe with somebody who's highly trained. There's a lot of doctors and psychologists and practitioners who have a lot of knowledge where they can help you. Very experienced shamans, maybe not somebody who just took a weekend course and are sharing their own experiences. But I think the environment is very important. I think the practitioner is very important. And I am huge on integration, making sure you have that support network after, so that, again, once you've grown those tree branches so high, making sure that you're rooted and grounded, and that the roots of the tree are also well established. And then having support and integrating it, as well as proper nutrition, good sleep, and things like that. So plant medicine is something I'm very open to. Again, it's something I've done a lot of work with, and I still to this day work with a lot of clients on plant medicine integration. And I've seen it be a very beneficial tool, and I've seen it abused, and I've seen it not be the best tool for certain people. So that's a little perspective on plant medicine. The most rewarding, fulfilling states of consciousness, if you will, that I have experienced, samadhi states, bliss states, enlightenment states, whatever you want to call them, for my experience, which is different than everybody else's. So there's no wrong way to heal. There's no wrong way to evolve. There's no, singular path. There's just my experience. And whether it's helpful or not is completely up to you. And I suggest to get lots of other people's perspectives, not only mine. But my most fulfilling states of consciousness have been through doing the work on myself, practicing mindfulness, being really present and embodied and grounded. I used to be very ungrounded and not sort of landed in my body. I was very cerebral and often escaping my body. But when I really got grounded in nature, grounded in my body, grounded in compassion, and present in my life, was when pew, 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 all of a sudden, just natural states of consciousness unlock. And I was able to sustain them and integrate them and experience them for long periods of time. And I found the last time I ever did anything was I tried psilocybin mushrooms, because a lot of my clients were doing it. And I wanted to retest my hypothesis, since I had not done anything like that for years. And what I noticed was that maybe what used to bring me metaphorically from a 3 to a 9, then brought me from a 17 to a 9. So it felt kind of good, but it didn't give me anything that I wasn't able to sustain in sobriety. And then it almost seemed like it dulled my receptors a little bit. So I became a little bit less intuitive, a little bit less psychic after that. So yeah, again, there's no right or wrong. I know a lot of people who are very well educated. I've had lots of clients who serve some of these things for a living, and I've had dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of clients who have tried some of these substances, and some of them with great success, some of them going a little bit overboard and maybe abusing them a little bit, and some not preferring it. So yeah, if you ever want to have a more in-depth discussion on different types and where you can go to experience them safely and what some of the pros and cons are, you can always book a discovery call. And Elster always puts those links in the show notes. And yeah, feel free to ask any questions. Or if there's any topics you'd like to hear me address, anything you'd like to challenge me on, I'm very open to that as well. And as always, sending everybody lots of love, lots of gratitude, and thank you for being evolutionary leaders. And we'll talk to you next week, and I look forward to chatting more with you soon.